Welcome back. There's some more good news for home buyers right now. So for example, mortgage interest rates have been decreasing, and as of today, they're sitting at a 1-month low. Also, home buyers have more options to choose from because the number of houses for sale increased to at least a 3-year high for this time of year. Additionally, the share of price reductions rose to the highest level of any February since at least 2015. Now, I'm not saying that home buyers have it easy though, because your average monthly mortgage payment is very close to reaching a new all-time record high. In today's video, I'll share all the details based on a new report from Redfin. Also, before we get started, if you guys want a real estate agent referral nationwide, then check out my website, realestateteamfinder.com, or click on the link in the video description below. Or you can email me at jason@meetjasonwalter.com if you guys want to buy or sell a house in the greater Sacramento area. We would love to help. With that said, I have a lot to share in today's video. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you, and let's begin. Here's this new report from Redfin just posted on Thursday. It says supply or housing inventory, the amount of houses for sale nationwide, ticked up in February for the first time in 8 months. So we had 8 consecutive months in which housing inventory was down on a year-over-year basis. Last week, it actually was unchanged, but this week was the first time we've had an increase of inventory in about 9 months. It says here, there are more houses for sale as spring is approaching, and house hunters or home buyers are hitting the pavement. Home touring activity is rising. I'll have some news to share regarding that. And of course, applications for mortgages are also rising up by 11% this week as well. I'll share that report from the MBA here in a little bit. It says new listings. This is a measure of the amount of people listing their houses for sale nationwide, rose 13% from a year earlier during the 4 weeks ended March 3rd. The biggest increase, I just say here, the biggest year-over-year increase in nearly 3 years. Big changes here. The boost of new listings is helping bring the total number of houses actually for sale or house inventory up by 1.7%. Again, that may not sound like a lot, but when looking at the trends right now compared to the past few years, we're at least a 3-year high right now. Following 8 months of decreases, February is the first month in the number of houses for sale that has increased on an annual basis. It says here, there's a few glimmers of hope for house hunters. Asking prices of new listings posted their smallest increase in roughly 2 months. These are asking prices of newly listed houses. It's still increasing, but the smallest increase in about 2 months. Additionally, 5.5% of home sellers dropped their asking prices on average, the highest share of any February since at least 2015. High mortgage rates pushed the median monthly housing payment to nearly $2,700 per month, and that's very close to reaching, again, an all-time record high. Now, here's something I do not agree with Redfin here, because it says here that the reason why we have these high mortgage payments, according to Redfin, it's due to high rates. I would challenge them on that because the increase of your average monthly housing payment, at least compared to a year ago, is really due to the fact that home prices have been increasing. Look at this. Let me just give you an update regarding rates. As of today, which is Thursday, March 7th, can't believe it's March already. Look at these rates, all in the 6s. We haven't seen this for quite some time. The average 30-year fix for people buying a primary residence, in other words, a house they want to live in, and they're putting at least 25% down, and they have a FICO score of at least 780, your average rate is around 6.92%. Of course, if you're buying an investment property, your FICO score is less than 780. The rates in this website here that you're being quoted are probably higher than these. Now, here's a look at average rates of 1 year ago. 1 year ago, the average rate was at 7.03%. Now it's at 6.92%. So virtually flat on a year-over-year basis. But Redfin's telling us that the reason why the average monthly housing payment is due to higher mortgage rates. Doesn't make any sense to me because back in the all-time record high, by the way, was back in October of 2023. What happened in October 2023? We had more than a 20-year high in rates. I just kind of thought about this as I'm making this video here. October 2023, let's just call it mid-October, the average rate was at 8.03%. Now the rate is only 6.9%. So the reason why we're very, very close to reaching all-time record highs is not due to the fact that rates have been increasing. It's because home prices have been increasing. So Redfin absolutely got it wrong there, in my personal opinion. Leave me a comment below with your thoughts regarding this. And again, getting back to the Mortgage News Daily's website, the daily rate as of Thursday at 6.92% is a 1-month low though, because the last time we had rates this low was back in February 2nd this year. Getting back to Redfin's report here, they also talk about the amount of people submitting loan applications to buy houses. This is according to the MBA. It's down 8% year over year, but it did increase by 11% compared to the same time frame 1 week ago. This actually, I think, was the first time in about 4 weeks in which application numbers actually increased on a weekly basis. Here's that actual report just posted on Wednesday. They report this every Wednesday morning from the MBA regarding numbers for refis plus purchase applications nationwide. And this actually includes 75% of all retail application numbers nationwide. This report covers the week ended March 1st this year. It says here the seasonally adjusted purchase index increased 11% from 1 week ago. This index, again, measures the amount of people submitting loan applications to buy houses. Even though it increased 11% from last week, it did decrease by 8% from 1 year ago. According to the MBA's Senior Vice President and Chief Economist, he stated the following: the latest data on inflation was not markedly better nor worse than expected. In other words, it came in more or less with expectations, which was enough to bring rates down a bit, with the 30-year fixed mortgage rate decreasing slightly last week. Also, another bit of good news here regarding this report here. It also states here that the ARM share of activity, these are people applying for an adjustable rate mortgage, which again is much riskier compared to a 30-year fix, for example, is still at very low levels at 7.7% of total application numbers last week. We obviously don't want to see this number being very, very high levels because that would imply that people are speculating that rates will decrease. If you're taking on a 5-1 ARM, for example, in which it's fixed for 5 years, then it becomes variable thereafter. That's a much, much riskier loan product than a 30-year fix, for example. So it's good to see that this share of ARMs is still at very low levels. Another stat that I follow personally as well to kind of gauge which direction our housing market is headed is also Redfin's Homebuyer Demand Index. This is an index which measures the amount of real estate showings, requests by their agents, and other home buying services that Redfin receives here. It did increase by 4% from a month earlier, but still down 7% year over year. So application numbers and also Redfin's demand index increased compared to the previous month and week, but it did decrease on a year-over-year basis. Meanwhile, Google searches also rose, but also are down 11% year over year. Touring activity. Let me share the actual report regarding that. This is Showing Time. I've talked about this quite a bit on the channel over the years, but Showing Time is a lockbox company that real estate agents use in order to get keys to houses so we can show houses to our home buyers. So I go to their blue lockbox. That's what it looks like in my neck of the woods. It's a blue lockbox. It's a rectangular shape here. I open my phone, open my app, type in my code, and then it opens the lockbox, and then I get the key that's locked in the lockbox, and I can open the door for my home buyers here in the Sacramento area. So once that happens, an email gets sent to the listing agent showing that Jason Walter with Revest Houses showed your house to their clients. And also ShowingTime.com also tracks this on a national level. In fact, they look at North America as well to see how the number of real estate showings compares to the first week of each and every year. So anyways, for the week ended March 6th, the most recent data we have, this year, the number of real estate showings across North America rose by 27.1% compared to the first week this year. Last year, this time, we were up by only 17% compared to the first week last year. Now, something that I really wish they would show us the actual number of showings across North America each and every year, because what happened in 2023, the first week of 2023, we're at very, very low levels in the amount of applications, home tours, pending home sales, etc. So to say that we saw a 17% increase last week is much different compared to the 27% increase we're seeing this year. And again, that's because each of those percentages right there are based on the increase compared to the first week of each of those years, not based on the change compared to the previous year. Hope that makes sense. Okay, let's get back to Redfin's report here and talk about home prices. So the median sold price on a national level, and this is, by the way, is for the 4 weeks ended March 3rd, did increase by 5.3% year over year. The median sold price is just under $369,000. Here is a chart showing the median sold price compared to the past several years. The orange line is this year. The blue line right here is last year. The black line is 2022. And at the bottom here is 2021. What really stood out to me, basically two things. So right now we're up by 5% year over year. At this time last year though, we were down by 1%. So what's going on this year, it's much different what happened last year, because for the first time in about 11 years, last year, home prices decreased on a year-over-year basis. Now they're up by 5%. That's number one. Number two is a giant increase in prices over the past several years. At $369,000 during the same time frame of 2021, we were at only $305,000. This means that home prices on a national level on average have increased by about 21% over the past 3 years. Redfin also shared how each of the 50 most populous metros fared regarding the changes in prices on a year-over-year basis. In fact, of the 50 biggest cities nationwide, only one metro now is down on a year-over-year basis, and that is San Antonio, Texas, down by 3.2%. We had Austin, Texas, in the spot here. Actually, it was the number one spot for months and months and months. Now it actually is in positive territory, along with Houston, Texas as well. In contrast, 49 of the 50 most populous metros are now up year over year. The biggest gain, or the biggest increase, is actually in Newark, New Jersey, up by nearly 15%. Then we have Montgomery County, Pennsylvania, Anaheim, California, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and also New Brunswick, New Jersey. Okay, let's now have a look at the average monthly mortgage payment. Like I mentioned, it's at $2,694 at the 6.94% weekly rate according to Freddie Mac. That's up by 6.9% year over year. It's also down just $23 from the all-time record high that was set back in October of 2023. Again, due to the fact that prices have increased greatly since then, but rates have actually gone down from about 8% now to about 6.9%. Let's look at a chart of this going back to 2021. The top here, of course, is this year. Here's 2023, 22, and 21. So we're very close to the record highs set back in October of 2023, when the average monthly housing payment was just over $2,700. Now it's just shy of that right now. On top of that, your payment of $2,700 is much greater than what we saw at this time of 2021, when back then your average payment was actually just over $1,600 per month. So therefore, home buyers right now are paying approximately $1,000 more per month to buy an average price home today compared to 2021. Sad, but true. All right, let's change gears slightly here and talk about pending home sales, new listings, housing inventory, and also the month supply as well. Let's first talk about the demand side here. So pending listings, a measure of the amount of people getting their offers accepted, actually decreased by 6.4%, whereas new listings rose by 12.8%. Isn't that wild? We saw for months and months and months, we saw a decrease of pendings and also a decrease of new listings. Now it's just the opposite. Contracts being signed going down, whereas new listings are going up. If we had a housing market in which it was very, very strong, in which there was tons of home buyers out there, one would assume, right? If new listings increased by 13%, you would assume that pending listings would also increase as well. But on a year-over-year basis, we're seeing just the opposite there. New listings rising faster than new pending home sales. On top of that, we have 1.7% more homes for sale right now compared to March of 2023. And despite that, pending sales are still down by about 6.5%. Redfin also says here the rise of nearly 2% of active listings or housing supply was the largest increase since the 4 weeks ended June 4th of 2023. Meanwhile, the month supply is at 3.7 months, a small increase from last year. And according to Redfin here, a balanced housing market in which neither a buyer nor a seller has a competitive advantage over the other was at 4 to 5 months. Now we're at 3.7 months. So getting very close to being in a balanced housing market according to Redfin. Let's have a look at active listings according to Redfin's data center here. Right now, according to them, there's around 773,000 houses for sale nationwide. That's up by 1.7% year over year. And that's the orange line right here. The blue line is last year. Last year's time, just under around 760,000 houses for sale. So the amount of houses for sale right now at 773,000 is at least a 3-year high during this time frame. What I'm really curious to find out is what will happen during the spring home buying season. Will more homeowners decide to sell their houses, or will they decide to hold on to their ultra low rates? I'll definitely keep you posted with latest developments, and of course, make sure you're subscribed. Redfin also posted a chart looking at the month supply right now. The month supply again is at 3.7 months, a small rise from last year. But again, this is the highest level during this time frame in at least the past 3 years. So for example, in 2022, the month supply was only 2 months. Now it's at 3.7 months. Another metric that is at least a 3-year high, in fact, the highest level since February of 2015, for any February since then, is the share of price drops from Redfin here at 5.5%. Pretty wild to see that the share of price drops right now is higher than last year this time, when at that time, the share of price drops is just over 4%. 2 more charts I want to share with you guys here. This is the average sale price to final list price ratio at 98.5%. This means over the past 4 weeks, for the houses that did close or were finalized, home sellers sold their houses on average for 1.5 percentage points below their asking price. And lastly, Redfin's home buyer demand index is down 7% year over year, which is right here. On top of that, it's at least a 3-year low during this time frame. And with that said, please check out that link below or go to realestateteamfinder.com if you guys want a real estate agent referral, or you can email me at jason@meetjasonwalter.com if you guys want to buy or sell a house in the greater Sacramento area. Approximately 90% of our clients actually come from YouTube, believe it or not. I rarely mention this. Anyways, thank you so much for joining me in today's video. I appreciate you so much. Have an awesome day. We'll see you on the next video.